From the beginning of time, royalty and upper class had a great tool to leave a lasting legacy to those who are left behind: architecture. The possibility to create one's own resting place, a memory, is no small deal. It gives the power to shape the narrative of the deceased life. I had a privilege to visit one of the greatest establishments of this kind, the Capuchin Crypt in Vienna. Welcome back, ladies and gentlefolk, to our channel on another adventure. It is the season to talk about death, as it is inevitable and a frequent topic of ours. Death and what comes after is a great mystery to humankind, to science and religion alike. The fascination and the wish to overcome the inevitable has inspired many poets, artists, and thinkers. The Imperial Crypt, also called the Capuchin Crypt, is a burial chamber beneath the Capuchin Church and Monastery in Vienna, Austria. Since 1633, the Imperial Crypt serves as the principle of entombment for the members of the Habsburg family. The bones of 145 Habsburg royalty plus urns containing the hot or cremated remains of 4 others are here, including 12 emperors and 18 empresses. The visible 107 metal sarcophagi and 5 heart urns range in style from Puritan plain to exuberant Rococo. Some of the dozen resident Capuchin Friars continued their customary role as the guardian and caretaker of the crypt, along with their other pastoral work in Vienna. The most recent entombment was in 2011. The Habsburg burial tradition. Their hearts, intestine, and bodies were all buried in separate locations. The general idea was to take out the intestine and bury them locally, as they could quickly cause the rest of the corpse to decay. The heart was taken out and embalmed so that it could be buried separately from the body. With most of the organs taken out, the body could be embalmed so as to keep it fresh for a couple of weeks to months, long enough to go through the elaborate funerary practices of the time, including the possibility to transport the body across Europe. After washing it with wines, vinegar, or later distilled alcohol, the body would be treated with various reasons, such as frankincense, herbs such as mint, which is an antioxidant, heavy metals such as mercury, and other preservatives were used to halt the decay. The body was typically stored in a heavy lead-lined coffin, which could further hinder decomposition. The aromatic substances would also do something to mask the smell if the process was not perfect. Many English, French, and German kings were embalmed such way before the Habsburgs rose to power. The practice was well established by the year of 1000, long before the Habsburgs were a family of note. The body was entombed in the Imperial Crypt in Vienna. The heart was removed and buried in the silver urn in a Halsgruft. The intestines were removed and buried in a copper urn in the Ducal Crypt of St. Stephen's Cathedral, also in Vienna. This is a type of secondary burial, and it is fairly common. The Western tradition of burying someone, and that it is called a primary burial. A lot of native and indigenous tribal communities practice secondary burials. Embalming and maintaining the wholeness of a body after death could be done, but it was resource and materially intensive and expensive. Cremation has not only been explicitly forbidden under Charlemagne in the 8th century under the threat of the death penalty, but such destruction of the bones was also constructed as destruction of the soul and thus the chance of resurrection. But not only the soul, according to the early Christian beliefs. Belief in the Last Judgment is held firmly in Catholicism which the Habsburg were practicing. The last judgment will occur after the resurrection of the dead, and our mortal body will come to life again. The Catholic Church teaches that at the time of the last judgment, Christ will come in his glory and all the angels with him, and in his presence the truth of each one's deeds will be laid bare, and each person who has ever lived will be judged with perfect justice. Some Christians believe that death is a period of dormancy, or sleep in the body, or an intermediate state on earth, or in the bosom of Abraham, in which there is no consciousness, and no heavenly activity has yet begun. No judgment, no trip to heaven or hell. Based on their interpretation of the following scriptures, the dead know not anything. Their love, their hatred, and their envy is now perished. So to clarify, the tradition started mostly due to primitive embalming methods that made long-term storage of corpses impossible without removing the offals, combined with the need to transport corpses from wherever the death occurred, which could take weeks or months and made the deterioration of the soft tissue an inevitability. I was not just welcomed in the establishment, but was given a personal tour before opening hours. Words cannot express my gratitude and my joy. The whole building is a very curious piece, composed from many vaults. As we descend from the stairs, right across the stairs, the Founder's Vault containing the coffins of the royals who dreamed this building into life. Empress Anna von Tyrol and her husband Matthias, Holy Roman Emperor. The Leopold Crypt houses 16 sarcophagi, the heart urn of Empress Claudia Felicitas, whose body is resting with her mother in the Dominican church further up in the city, the heart urn epitaph of Mariana, Queen of Portugal, and 12 simple, unadorned children's coffins from the 17th century, including Empress Margarita Teresa, whom we know from the painting of Velázquez, La Meninas, as a princess. She died at the age of 21 following her 7th pregnancy. Her husband is resting further in a highly ornated coffin of the Charles vault. The pillars divide the vault up and gives the feeling that we are entering into a church. In 1657, the young Emperor Leopold I ordered the crypt to be expanded because the small Founder's Crypt had hardly found a room in the sarcophagus of his father Ferdinand III, who died in the same year. Leopold is resting further in the Charles vault. There are 7 sarcophagi on the heart urn of Empress Amalia Wilhelmina. Here rest Joseph I's 2 sons, including Charles VI, a daughter, and their wives. Charles VI. His coffin displays fascinating imagery of his life. The 4 corners are adorned with skeletons wearing the royal crowns of the 4 main territories of the empire: Bohemia, Austria, Hungary, and Spain. One of them is a replica due to an accident when the original was stolen. Across Charles, in her stunning coffin, rests her wife, Elisabeth Christine von Braunschweig. The daughter is residing under the cupola in a forever box more splendid than anything I have ever seen. The next vault is the most splendid extension of the Capuchin Crypt. 16 people found their last resting place in the Maria Theresa vault. 15 Habsburg, the imperial couple, and those of their children who died before the Empress, as well as the Imperial Countess Fürst-Mollalt, Maria Theresa's governess. Maria Theresa represents the pinnacle of the Habsburg dynasty. Her struggle for the throne, the way she won the loyalty of the nobles, not with her beauty, where she wasn't particularly blessed, but her ambition and tenacity. Her ambition and values she taught to the children about family and closeness, and the foot she put down to promote variolation after her daughter died of smallpox. Mother of 16 children and an empire, a legend on her own. The coffin of the imperial couple is surrounded by their children and their children. Truly the most spectacular part of the whole tour. Walking further, in 1824, Emperor Franz II decided to expand the imperial burial ground again, since there was no room for him or his descendants in the Capuchin Crypt. The Franzengruft is octagonal and in a Biedermeier style. It's a breath of fresh air after the pomp of the Rococo. Emperor Franz II and his 4 wives rest here in a symmetrical arrangement of sarcophagi. Further through the Ferdinand crypt, we found ourselves in the Tuscany vault. The crypt, with almost 50 coffins, originally looked like an unsightly coffin depot. Today, due to the addition of the new crypt, it only houses 14 plain worked sarcophagi. The new crypt was built under the monastery garden in 1960 and 1962. In the realistic style of the 1960s. Its raw concrete walls give the impression of a dug-out grave. However well-built and magnificent this vault gave me the most realistic impression that I am indeed visiting a crypt. Due to rearrangements in the Capuchin Crypt, it houses 26 sarcophagi from 3 centuries, thus relieving the cramped crypt. People from all corners of the dynasty resting here, from 1662 to 1944. Including the late Emperor of Mexico, whose coffin is well adorned with flowers and tiny sombreros by visitors. A spot of color amidst the brutalist architecture. On the occasion of the 6th anniversary of his reign, which gives us the estimation when we're supposed to start thinking about such matter, Emperor Franz Joseph I had further cellar rooms of the monastery included in the crypt in 1908 and gave the order to build a chapel and a worthy mausoleum for himself, his wife Empress Elizabeth, and to shape their heir to the throne, Crown Prince Rudolf, who went first to the unknown in 1889 by taking his own life. He was followed by his mother, Sissi, after her assassination in 1898. Her resting place is well visited. Her life keeps people fascinated till this day, including me. A last stop on this tour is the chapel. The last burial happened here in 2011. Emperor Franz Joseph commissioned the crypt chapel together with his mausoleum. Like the Franz Joseph crypt, the memorial room was built in a secession style. It houses commemorative busts of the Habsburg Emperor Karl I, who rests in Madeira. The coffin of his wife, Empress Zita, who died in 1989. His son Karl Ludwig, his son Otto, and his wife Regina. Remembering the past is crucial for us so we can shape the future. These people, this family, was for a long time the most powerful to guide Europe through the perils of politics, wars, famines and recessions, good times and bad times alike. Their ideas, thoughts and struggles are written in stones all across the continent and further, up till Mexico. With or without their firm intentions, they are all responsible for the freedom, the health, the independence we have today. My guide Eva told me that to avoid incidents, they removed the last remaining piece of gold, a heart from the heart earned from Amalia Wilhelmina to discourage the grave robbers. So I decided to leave my gold heart behind as a memento mori. Thank you for coming with us today. I encourage you to visit the Kaisergruft in case you happen to see Vienna. Please support the establishment and all their good work to keep our collective memory a reminding presence. See you next time.